The maximum yield of plants determined by their genetic potential is seldom achieved because factors such as insufficient water or nutrients, adverse climate conditions, plant diseases, and insect damage will limit growth at some stage. Plants subjected to these biotech and abiotic constraints are said to be stressed. You used to think that being green was a luxury for your company, but climate change has made you realize that you can no longer ignore it. Buzz is about becoming carbon neutral, but where do you start? Consider your drivers. Do you want to become carbon neutral for marketing reasons, for financial reasons, or to help save the planet? Traditional divisions of domestic work are understood to persist because of the strong association of the home with femininity and paid work with masculinity. To challenge who does what in the home is arguably tantamount to challenging what it is to be a woman or a man. The Japanese tea ceremony is a ritual tour influenced by Buddhism in which green tea is prepared and served to a small group of guests in a peaceful setting. The ceremony can take as long as 4 hours and there are many traditional gestures that both the server and the guest must perform. But on May 3, a couple of weeks later, Lincoln issued an executive order calling for 43,000 three-year volunteers for the Army and also increasing the size of the regular Army and Navy by 40,000 men. Both of these actions were in apparent violation of the Constitution. There are two main types of market research. Quantitative research involves collecting a lot of information by using techniques such as questionnaires and other forms of survey. Qualitative research involves working with smaller samples of consumers, often asking them to discuss products and services while researchers take notes about what they have to say. Online user reviews have become an essential tool for consumers who increasingly rely on them to evaluate products and services before a purchase. Business models of online review platforms like Yelp and TripAdvisor and e-commerce sites like Amazon and Expedia critically depend on them, should such sites pay users to encourage them to write reviews. According to a new study, that is a bad idea. Shoppers hoping to bag a bargain in the post-Christmas sales are much less likely to go through with their purchases if they are using phones and tablets to buy goods online. Our survivors have told me many times that hate starts small and it grows when your neighbors, workmates, and friends ignore it and do nothing. Hate triumphs when intolerance and prejudice become ingrained across an entire society. From the pages of newspapers to the halls of government. From schoolrooms to boardrooms. The racial and identity politics were subtle and complex, but real and in full operation every day. The target of racial jokes changed erratically, and the cruelty would vary depending on the target's position in the coolness hierarchy at school. How do we imagine the unimaginable if we're asked to think of an object? Say, a yellow tulip. A picture immediately forms in our mind's eye. But what if we try to imagine a concept such as the square root of a negative number? Analysts were impressed by the improvement in margins reported across all regions, apart from the United Kingdom, and said that this reflected a clear effort to improve profitability across the business. Although the turnaround is still in its early stages and the valuation looks full given the challenge of turning around such a large and complex business, this is certainly an impressive start. The coastal wetlands have environmental and economic importance. Wetlands provide natural wealth. They have important filtering capabilities. As the runoff water passes, they retain excess nutrients and some pollutants. They maintain water flow during dry periods. Thousands of people depend on groundwater for drinking. They act as natural sponges of floodwaters and contain soil erosion. The student's reading in his own subject slows down, and his comprehension becomes less secure. He expresses himself slowly and often fails to convey his ideas exactly. He is disappointed to find that under pressure he makes a lot of unnecessary mistakes in areas where he knows the correct language forms. Using more than 50 interviews, award-winning writer Danny Danziger creates a fascinating mosaic of the people behind New York's magnificent Metropolitan Museum of Art, from the aristocratic, acerbic director of the museum, Felipe Di Montebello, to the curators who have deep knowledge and passionate appreciation of their collections, from the security guards to the philanthropists who keep the museum's financial lifeblood flowing.